Well, God bless you. This is Apostle coming at you. We know that you're still being blessed by what the revelation that God gave us in December and continued this year of 2022, and that is from His house to your house. Well, these summit teachings have continued to be a blessing, and there will be more. So get ready and stay tuned to be blessed by tonight's summit teaching.
And welcome to Credit Repair 101. My name is Runisia Henry, aka Ro, and I am your instructor today. I hope you got a good night's rest, your caffeine, and an attitude, because throughout this presentation, I will be doing an attitude check, and I need you to have one. Now, if you don't, I need you to readjust your seating position and think about all the things you want, that you were promised, and that are not in your position. Why? Because you signed up for this workshop to snatch your name back. So when I say attitude check, your response is, I'm snatching my name back, just like that. So the Word of God tells us, the kingdom of God suffers violence, and the violent snatch. Oh, no. We take it by force. So we are here to learn about getting our stuff together. So let's talk about it. And I want to remind you that the Word of God in Proverbs 22:1 says a good name is better than riches. Let me show you. Proverbs 22:1 says a good name is better than riches. And I need you to remember that, because throughout this presentation, I'm going to get you in that place where your name is good. So here we go. I know you probably came with a whole lot of questions, a ton of them. And I'm glad that you do. You probably got a whole lot of them that you got stored up here, or you've got them written down. And my plan is to answer most, if not all of them, throughout my presentation. My testimony is that I want you to understand credit, because it took me 2 bankruptcies before I got it together. Yep, I said 2. And don't judge me. My problem was enough wasn't enough. And I'm sure you all can say the same thing. Enough is never enough. But we need to know our limits, and we have to set boundaries. My filing bankruptcy was due to various reasons, which I can give you a list of them, but we ain't got time for that right now. But my main one was my eyes was bigger than the money that was in my wallet at that time. Yep, I said at that time, because I'm not there no more. Now, I need you to remember that when I say attitude check, I need you to snatch your name back. So before we get started, I have to share with you a definition that I found in Merriam-Webster. I believe Merriam-Webster will save y'all, because a lot of times when I go to define a word, he speaks what the word is already saying, or they speak it, because I believe it was 2 of them. So according to Merriam-Webster, it is credit, that is the provision of money, goods, or services with the expectation of a future payment. So today, I will share a few of the things that I learned along my journey. But first, let's watch this video.
So tell me, Jen, what brings you into relationship counseling today?
My credit card?
Oh, you have quite the sense of humor.
No, this was my credit card's idea.
Hello.
Oh.
I just can't take it anymore. I'm at my limit, literally.
Oh my. Jen, the key to a successful partnership with your credit card is to pay it in full on time.
Pay it in full on time.
Pay it in full on time.
That's right. Your credit card's billing cycle is the period of time between billings. It can vary depending on the card issuer. So you must understand when it starts and when it ends for each credit card you use. During that time frame, purchases, credits, and any fees or finance charges are added and subtracted from your account. And when your billing cycle closes, you are billed for the remaining balance. This will be reflected in your credit card statement.
Which you would know if you ever opened one.
Shh.
Your statement also shows your payment due date, which is usually about 20 days after your billing cycle ends. Your bill must be paid before the due date, in what's known as the grace period, in order to avoid late fees. And it must be paid in full to avoid being charged interest on the balance.
Make sure you allow extra time for your payment to process, too.
In the meantime, your next billing cycle will already be underway. It starts with whatever balance was left unpaid at the end of the previous billing cycle and goes from there, adding and subtracting your credit card activity for the current cycle.
What happens to our relationship if I can't pay off my balance?
I will make your life absolutely miserable.
What? What if we compromise and I pay the minimum payment? That's gotta count for something.
Well, making minimum payments on time may protect your credit rating and dodge the penalties related to missing a payment altogether. But you will be charged interest on the remainder of the balance.
And that interest accumulates quickly. If you only pay the minimum every month, I can keep you in debt for a really long time.
You wouldn't.
Oh, yes, I would. Start missing payments, and I'll tank your credit score. Raise your interest rates. Trust me, sister, you don't want to go there.
Okay, let's talk about strategies for managing this conflict. Jen, I want you to turn to your credit card and imagine it's cash. Treating your card like cash means using it to pay for things within your budget. Bills, groceries, all the regular things you know you can afford with the money you already have.
What's the point of having a credit card if I'm just gonna treat it like cash?
For the convenience, and depending on the specifics of your card, for the rewards.
What? I don't want you to think I'm using you just for your rewards.
Why not? I'm cool with it.
Really?
If you're paying in full and on time, it's perfectly fine to enjoy the perks of your credit card. So, how do you feel?
I feel recharged.
And I feel renewed interest.
What?
No!
Relax. Renewed interest in this relationship, not on my credit card balance.
Oh, well, in that case, I would say balance has been restored.
Why does everyone forget about me? I'm a really nice gift card. I've always been there for them.
All right. So we are here to learn, and I want to give you a little foundation before we actually get into how to get that credit repaired. So first of all, people sometimes assume their credit is much worse or even better than it really is. Others probably assume that they can improve the credit scores but ignore their credit reports. Nope. Knowing what's in your credit report and how that affects your credit score is essential to improving your credit as well as assuming your financial situation. So how much debt? Creditors look at how long you've been at your job, your income level, and the likeliness that your income will increase over time. Your existing credit and credit limits. They want to know how close are you to those limits. They want to know if you've maxed them out. So they look at all of this, how long you've had each account and your payment history. Then with your assets, creditors like to see that you have assets. Skin in the game is what most people call it. You bringing something to the table. And that's why you will see them ask the questions like, do you own your home? Do you have a bank account? So that is why they want to know those questions, because if you don't pay your bill, they want to know if they have something that they can come after to make sure that that bill gets paid. Now, with the financial stability, creditors develop a feeling of your financial character through the objective factors that show stability. You will see questions like how long at your current residence, time on the job, do you rent or you own, do you have any savings or checkings account? These questions are no different from yours. So when somebody comes to you and they say, I need to borrow some money, your first question is probably going to be, when am I going to get it back? That's the same thing it is with a lender or a creditor. They want to know that they're going to get their money back, and they want to know when. So that's why you see that due date on your bill. You don't have to pay it on that due date. You want to get it in there before it's actually due. It's no different than somebody that owes you the money. So if you have not heard from that person that said they're going to pay you on the 15th, you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to call them. Hey, girl, you told me you was going to pay me. And today is the 15th. Where should I meet you? Because you want to get your money. So let's think of it that way. We, in other words, are a lender when it comes to people who are calling us to borrow money. Attitude check. I'm snatching my name back. All right. Let's look at what the difference between a credit score and a credit report is. So your credit report is a record of all the credit activity and the history. It includes the names of companies that have extended you credit and loans, as well as the credit limits, the loan amounts, and your payment history. These are all important because what it is, it's like a financial resume. So think of your credit report like a financial resume. It tells the story of your financial health to potential lenders. So they're going to look at it. They want to know what you've done or what are you doing. So now the credit score. So creditors use the credit score to decide quickly if you're likely to repay an account or the loan without having to carefully review the whole credit report. So they'll have a score, and based off of their rules, the way they have everything set up, they approve your credit based off the score. So now what can happen is if your score is below, so if you got a high score, you're likely to be offered credit at a good rate. But if you have a low score, creditors may reject it, or they may even charge you higher rates or fees. So I'm going to give you an example of a high interest rate. You're going to apply for a car. You can't qualify for it. They will give you the car, and you've seen so many commercials, or you know some people that have a car loan, and their car loan is much more than the car is worth. The reason is because of the interest rate that they were being charged. So before they even drove off the lot, their car is upside down for one, and it's not even worth the amount that they paid for it. So now you can be paying for a car twice and only have one car. So you got to be mindful of the interest rates that these cars are charging. So if they tell you, oh yeah, we can approve you, what you can do is trade the car in 2 years. They never told you that when you bring the car for a trade-in, that you probably need to bring some money with it. So now your car is worth $5,000. Your loan is $10,000. So in order to get a new car, what you're going to have to do is one of two things. The first thing you will do is either roll the amount into the new loan, which is going to increase the payment of the new car, or bring a $5,000 check to offset the $5,000 that you owe. You don't want to be in that position. So what I suggest is, if you want to get a new car and you know that is way out of your league, don't make that drastic decision there. Go home and think about it, because 9 times out of 10, you will look at your budget, see first of all if you can afford it. Sometimes you have to make those decisions because you have no other choice. But I suggest thinking about it, sleep on it, because you may be able to get a car loan from someplace else for so much less. Think about it, know your worth, know your value, and make sure that you are not spending way above your means, and then having a car that's not even worth the value anymore because of the interest rate that people are, that the lenders, I should say, are charging you. So what I want you to understand is what's in a credit report. And first of all, I want to give you a little bit of history about how it came about. So in 1970, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is FCRA, the acronym, specified what could and could not be included in your credit reports and your rights to correct the errors. And then in 2003, the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act, which is FACTA, allows you to get free credit reports each year. So you can call the annual credit report phone number and get it from all three bureaus because you want all three. Or you can go online and request it, www.annualcreditreport.com. You can get it that way. Or you can sign up for like Experian.com, or you can download the app and you can see like what your score is, Experian, or you can actually see what your history looks like. I suggest if you do it with Experian, to start with their free, just to see how it works. It's really good. I use it, and I only use it because I want to track what my score is. And I do that because it's free. And I don't need all of that other stuff because I have a copy of my credit report and I can see all of those things. But that's if you're, anxious and you want to know. You can do it that way. So the cases which entitles you for a free credit report, if you already got it within that 12 months, is if you are denied credit. So if you denied credit, you denied insurance, you denied employment, or any other government benefits, you can get your credit report after you've gotten it within 12 months. Or if there was an unfavorable action, somebody did something that they weren't supposed to, or if you were granted credit and didn't receive the amount of terms that they requested, you can get your credit report. And if your credit account was terminated, or if the creditor made an unfavorable change to your account. So if any of those things happen, you can call or contact the credit bureau and they will send you a new report. Even if you were denied credit, you get that letter in the mail, you can mail that to them and they will issue you a new credit report. And the reason why, if you were denied and you know that you shouldn't have been denied, or you just need to know why you were denied, you want to get that report. So you use that. Now, some of us may have accounts with banks that give us a credit score. That credit score is a Vantage score. It's a little bit different than the FICO score. Actually, it's a whole lot different because I was looking at my Vantage score. I bank with Chase. So I was looking at my Vantage score according to what Experian showed me. And it was almost 100 points different. So 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a higher difference than what Experian actually shows. So be mindful of that. Okay, this is the time for an attitude check. I'm snatching my name back. So I want you all to get it in your mind and get that attitude, because you are a king's kid. And the Father already promised us that we can have what we want if we ask. And he said, first of all, we need to be good stewards over what he's given us. And so we need to begin to understand where our place is and stay in our place. And we sometimes get, like I did, out of control because your eyes is bigger than the money in your wallet at the moment. And not saying that God wouldn't supply what you need, but what God allows us to see is his word in action. And so if you're a tither and you're giving, God already told us that when you give, it shall be given unto you. But he has to know that he can trust you with it. So that's what I'm here to show you, what I learned on my journey of credit. So as I mentioned earlier, to come up with your score, a company gathers information about your credit history, such as how many accounts you have, whether you pay on time, collection actions against you, and so on. Then they compare you to others in a similar profile and award your points based on your credit worthiness. A high credit score indicates that you're at low risk. In other words, that you are more likely to repay a loan. And a low score indicates potential problems. And the credit scores generally do not consider your salary. So you can be making 6 figures a year. But that has nothing to do with how you pay your bills. You can have all the money in the world. But if you're not paying your bills on time and it's being reported negatively against you, you will not be able to get loans or credit unless you pay the debts that you owe. So keep that in mind. We got to be mindful. All right, now I want to take a look at how the scores are actually created. So remember I talked about the Vantage and the FICA. So the 3 credit bureaus, which is Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they use FICO, the FICO score, to come up with your score. So the score is consisting of several components. So the first one is the payment history, which is about 35% of your score. And what it does is, with this, it wants to know if you have paid on time. Do you have any delinquents account? Have you declared bankruptcy, had a foreclosure, and how recent your past due accounts are, and whether you have any judgments. That's, somebody that you owed and you didn't pay them, so now they're going to negatively impact your score. Okay, so this is the largest part of your score. So it is the most important part. So you got to pay your bills on time. You have to. And even making a payment, a late payment only one time, it will have a negative impact on your score. So if you are put in that position where you have paid a bill late, call your creditor. Get some favor. Because if this is the only time you've paid it late and it's being reported negatively, tell them, hey, I had a situation and I am out of that situation now, and I would like to know if you can have mercy on me. Can you please remove the negative late that is being reported on my report so that my score, whatever your story is going to be to them, they will listen. Sometimes you can ask them to remove it right away, or you can say, hey, if I pay the next 3 payments on time, can you remove it? And make sure you follow up with them. When you do that, then your score, you'll see your score change. Also, what you can do is ask them, what is it that I can do to lower the amount that I'm being charged? So the interest rate. They have different programs based off of your history with them and the history that you showed them that you can pay and have been paying consistently. They can lower your interest rate. So ask them for that as well. So those are just little nuggets. So let's get back to the percentages. So amounts owed on credit accounts is about 35%. So FICA looks at such things as the amount that you owe and all of that. All right. So now the length of your credit history is about 15%. So this generally shows the history, and it allows you to see how your score can be impacted as well because of the credit history. If you have, let's say you bought a car and you paid that car off, everything was good with it, but it's still on your credit. Don't remove it, because that positive credit history is very good for your report. So don't remove it. Do not remove it, because that helps your score, and it will continue to help your score because it shows that you paid and you paid on time. Now, new credit, that's about 10% of your score. So FICA looks, they look at this to see if they can give you more credit based off of, the creditors look at this to see if they can give you more credit because of all of the things that you have. But now here, opening several accounts in a short period of time might indicate that you're at a higher risk. So you're in a department store and you're at the counter and they're saying, do you want to save some money today by opening a credit card? Some of us can't say no because we want these items and now we can go back and buy more. And so we say yes. So now those are creating hard inquiries. These hard inquiries will have an effect on your credit. And lenders don't like to see a whole bunch of hard credits, especially mortgage lenders. They do not like to see that. So if you have had a whole lot of hard inquiries recent, you got to get control over that, because they're going to look at that as if you're desperate and you're trying to get all of these credit cards, and who knows what the reason is. And it's no different than what we would be thinking. Like, why is she trying to open up all these credit cards? Maybe she's just trying to get all of this stuff and then she's going to go file bankruptcy. I probably would think that. But you don't want to give them that. You don't want them to be looking at you negatively. So now, types of credit is another percentage. It's about 10% of your score. FICO is looking for a healthy mix. So they're looking at different types of credit. Do you have revolving and installments? Which revolving, your credit cards, installments are your bank, your mortgage loans and your car loans. You can see that about 65% of your FICO score depends on whether you pay your bills on time. And in this graph, you can see that 35% is whether you owe too much or if it's too high. So you want to make sure that you are keeping track of what you owe so that you're not in a place where you have a negative impact on your score because of all of the stuff that you have on there. Pay your bills on time. I'm not going to say it enough. Attitude check, I'm snatching my name back. And we have to get into that position where we understand that in order for us to have what God promised, we need to know how to maintain it. We need to be good stewards, y'all. So on this list, I gave you some common factors that negatively affect your credit decisions. And I did not put on there personal things, because we all can go down a list of things and reasons why, or, that probably had an effect on our credit. We can talk about the issues. We can talk about we don't have enough money. We ain't got the right job. We ain't with the right person. A whole lot of things, even your spouse. Those are people and things that can affect your score, but we're not talking about that, y'all. We're talking about serious delinquencies. Are you paying your stuff on time? Do you have too many accounts with balances? As I mentioned earlier, the ultimate thing that can affect our credit is sometimes our eyes is bigger than the money that we have. Not saying that God is not going to supply all that we need, but we need to show God that the money that we have, we can be good stewards over it. But he's not going to give you something if you're not taking care of it. You have to remember that. You can't have a car and not go wash it. You can't have a car and you driving on fumes. I call it a fume in a prayer, because you praying, you make it to the gas station before you run out of gas. We got to be mindful of the things that God has given us, and we got to be good stewards over it. So now that we got all of that, let's look at how we assess our situation. So we got to get a clear picture. We got to get a clear picture of our current financial situation. You got to create a budget. You got to know what you have so that you can maintain it. You got to analyze those current debts. You got to know what's coming in and what's going out. That's your income and your expenses. You got to prioritize your debts and your expenses. Who want to be in debt for the rest of their life? Not me. And I'm sure you don't either. So create a budget and stick to it. We got to find balance, y'all. Sometimes we just want stuff because we want it, or because we see somebody else with it, we want it. It's not always for us, and it's not always good for us. All right. Get your credit reports. Go to annualcreditreport.com. If you have not pulled it recently, it's free. Why wouldn't you want to know what's on your credit report? You can go to Annual Credit Report. You can call them, and they will give you your credit report. But they ask you, which ones do you want? You want all three of them. Don't leave any of them there. You want all three, because they report differently. Believe it or not, they report differently. So now let's get started. And I know this is the part that you want to know. So now that you have your report, you must review it. You got to know what's in it. You got to know what needs to be fixed. You want to highlight all of the negative stuff. You want to make a repair list. Then you want to organize that list in order of importance. So first thing first are the active accounts, open accounts, and accounts that's receiving charges. Then you want to look at the inactive accounts. These can be collections and late payments and things like that. So you want to organize it. Now that you got it organized, begin with the ones that are easier to pay off. I've done it before, and I continue to do it. I pay my bills weekly, and I'm not suggesting that you do it, but it's easy for me. And I set up my checking account to pay every bill weekly. And what happens with that, I'm constantly watching it. So after prayer in the morning, next thing I'm doing is looking at my accounts. What has been paid, how much is going out, and how much now that I have in my accounts. One of the things that you can do to get ahead, especially when it comes to paying down mortgages, and I'm not sure if you are mindful or even if you know this, the more you pay on your mortgage, the faster you're going to pay it off. There are some banks that will allow you to pay weekly, every 2 weeks, and they will actually put it on your account when you paid it. So now what happens is the interest decreases because your principal decreases because of the consistent payments that you're making. So if you're paying weekly, you can pay your mortgage off in 15 years as opposed to 30. And the way you do that is either paying weekly or paying monthly. That was a little nugget, Joe. So the positive information can remain indefinite. And of course, you know, the negative can remain indefinite too. I don't know how else to put it unless you work on getting it off. And the only way you're going to be able to get it off is to know what's on there. So when you get your report, if you find out that there's something on there that's not yours, it could be identity theft. And now it's time to do some work. So most of the time when you find out that somebody has put something or charged something against you, there's a whole lot of things that you have to do that's required by the credit bureau. And some of them require that you file a police report. So you want to make sure that you have that police report to show that your identity has been stolen. And then they'll have you do all of those other things to make sure that it's not stolen again. So I want to make sure that you are aware of that. So now the next thing we need to do is start rebuilding our credit. How do we do that? There's no other way to do it than to pay your bills on time every time. On time means that the payment got to the company by the day the bill is due, not after it, the day that it's due. Automatic payments, you can set them up like I do. It's probably one of the easiest way to get those bills there on time, especially now during COVID. You got a whole bunch of things that's going on with mail, people throwing mail in fields and snail mail. That's one of the ways that I use it. I'm not suggesting that that's the best way, but that's my way. Okay, don't get too close to your credit line, because if you do, it's going to negatively impact it. And you're probably asking, well, why in the world did they give me $1,000 limit and I can't use it all? You can use it if you pay the whole thing off the next month. If you're not going to pay the whole thing off, try to stay within 30%. 30%. So that means that you can monthly have a balance on your credit card of $300. That will help you. That will keep your score good and show that you have a good payment history. Don't apply for too much credit in a short time. So if you've already applied for a credit card, wait 6 months. Wait a year to apply for another one, because you don't want them to think or it to seem as if you are desperate. If you can't qualify for a regular credit card, a good way to establish your credit or even to get your credit in a good place is ask a bank for a secured card. Capital One has secured cards. Most of our banks have secured cards. What happens is they'll run an application on you. You give them the amount that you want your credit limit to be. They'll put that money in a savings account. And what it does after a time, maybe 3 months, 6 months, and you've been paying that bill on time, and you've been staying under that 30%, well, within the 30%, you're showing them that you're credit worthy. So now you're saying, I am good with what you've given to me. Not only that, but they still have their money up front. So if you don't pay it, it'll get paid. But this allows them to see that you're good with your history, you're good with your payments, and now I can trust you. So that's a good way to get started. So if you want a $300 limit, give them $300, $500. And sometimes there's a threshold. So they'll give you a certain amount because they want to see if you're going to be able to pay it. And if you pay with a credit card, pay the balance off every month. Most of us use credit because we don't have enough, but you can do it. So start with a little and work your way up. So now, you need to know you can't be who you're going to be and who you used to be at the same time. It don't work that way. So you can't say you want to pay your bills off, but then you don't. You have to do one or the other. Just like the word says, either hot or cold, you can't be lukewarm. So there's no in between. Do what you say you're going to do. Do it when you say you're going to do it so that you can get the results that you want. It's not hard. It's challenging. We have to have patience, you all. We have to have patience because Rome wasn't built in a day. So I'm going to give you a few nuggets. So my first nugget is, in order to get those late payments restored, you can call your creditors. And I know I mentioned this already. You can call your creditors and ask them to change a few things for you. Change your interest rate. And if you ask them, if I pay this bill now, can you remove it, the negative report? Or if I pay it in the next 3 months, can you remove it? And stick to your word. That's the first thing. The next thing is understanding those hard inquiries. Those are the ones that you were applying for credit because you wanted to get that coupon when you were at the register. Those have a negative impact. They have about 3 to 5 points negative impact on your score. But here's the thing. You can get those removed. So you can dispute those. But in order to do that, you got to freeze your account first and then write your dispute letters and get them off. And you might need some help, and I'm here to help you do that. Another thing is, if you know somebody who's got good credit that trusts you and you trust them, you can ask them, hey, can you put me on your card as an authorized user? And if they say yes, have them keep the card because you don't need it. You just want to get the points to get your score up. That's the nugget I want to give you. But the last one is, all of us need a fresh start. There's a loan that you can get that would allow you to get a fresh start. And at the same time, you can be saving money. If you get this loan and you get in a place where you can't afford to pay it anymore, you can get out of it. It will not have a negative impact on your score. But at the same time, it will instantly increase your score. Just like that commercial with Experian. And it said the people that are on there are saying it boosts my credit 13 points instantly. This is what this fresh start would do. So my name is Runisia Henry. I am here to help you, and I hope you are ready to snatch your name back.
Do you recommend filing for bankruptcy like you did?
Absolutely not. And the only reason I had to file bankruptcy is because I was upside down, y'all, and I didn't see no way out. I called the creditors, they weren't working with me. I called them again, they were not bending, and I didn't have the money to pay them. And I went to the word where it says in 7 years you can be forgiven. And look at Donald Trump. He done got bankruptcy after bankruptcy, and he's still in a place where he is prospering, y'all. Whether you like him or not, he's prospering. But I was in that place where I did not have it. And I tried and tried and tried, and they weren't working with me. So I had to do that. I had to file bankruptcy. So I do not suggest it. It depends on what your income is, what your expenses are, and if the creditors are not working with you, then that will be your last resort. I mean, absolute last resort. Because I'm telling you, it took me a whole year because I kept going back to the creditors. I had one creditor that would work with me, but none of the other ones would. And so because I had a business and unfortunately, it did not do what I thought it would do. So we were kind of in a bad situation. So we had to file bankruptcy.
Wow.
So that's what I suggest.
All right. What do you do with your spouse's debt on your credit from a divorce? My Lord. Hey, y'all, and I done had two. Tell us, girl.
Well, here you go. So it could be the same situation. You can, well, most of the time, depending on how the filing is, the judge may require the husband to pay his portion of the debt. And if not, then worst case scenario, you probably, if you can't afford to pay it off yourself with your income, you may have to file bankruptcy. It's not the end of the world. And here's another thing. When I filed bankruptcy, the credit cards were coming. What was coming first were those car loan letters, because they wanted to get you back in debt instantly. But remember, I told you the story about the auto loan being upside down. That's where you would be if you went with that letter that said fresh start. They want to give you a fresh start, but your interest rate is going to be more than the car. Don't do it. So yeah, you may just have to file bankruptcy. That's the last resort, but it may be the quickest. And you can start building your credit right away. You can go to the bank and get that secure credit card that I was telling you about. I did it. It works.
Okay. Is there any particular company you recommend for a fresh start?
Yes, I do. For the fresh start, depending on which fresh start you're looking at, you're talking about getting a credit card or you're talking about the fresh start with the loan. Not sure which fresh start you're talking about. So yes, a bank can give you a loan. And well, the credit union that I work with currently, the loans start out at $500 and they can give you a 6-month to a 24-month term. What happens is they put the loan amount into an account. You don't get the amount, the money. So you don't get the 500 or the 2,000. So it goes from 500 to 2,000. So you don't get that amount. It goes into an account and you pay as if you have it like it's an actual loan. So they're reporting every month to the credit report. They're to all three of them that you are paying and you're paying on time. And so that gives you the fresh start and it instantly boosts my credit. So when I signed up for it, when I went to my credit report, I used Experian. So I went there and when I looked at it, my score had been raised 13 points just by me signing up for it. So each month is going to increase my credit score.
Great. Great. Any more questions? Do you go to your local bank and request a fresh start loan?
Well, they may have it, but I suggest you contact me and I can put you in contact with the credit union that I use. So I haven't used my own personal bank to get it. I actually used a credit union.
Okay. Any more questions? Let's see. Hello. After being 2 years affected by the pandemic, it seems I need additional help. Do you advise bankruptcy or debt reconciliation?
I suggest that you call me so that we can review your credit report together so I can see what's on there, because I can't give you that information without seeing what's on your report first. So we can sit down, we can review it, and I can give you the suggestions from there, because I don't want to tell you yes to one thing and then I haven't seen it. So
Okay.
it's
Runisia, give us your number again one more time. Everybody take out your pens and paper. She's going to give you her email address.
Address.
Mm-hmm.
So email address is my first and last name, which is Runisia, Runisia, last name Henry, Henry, at Gmail. So gmail.com.
So do you use Fresh Start to pay off other debts?
No, because you will not get the money. They're not going to give you the money until the end of your term. So if you get a 6-month term, within 6 months, you will get that money.
Okay, great.
So it's kind of like saving. So what I look at it, from two perspectives. So I look at it as that money that emergency fund money that you just kind of saving. So you're not touching it because you're in this 6-month term, or you're in the 24-month term, whatever your term you decide. And now at the end of that term, you have money that you would not probably have saved, as well as you have increased your credit score. So that's what the Fresh Start program that I'm talking about does.
Wow, what an awesome teaching. We got some awesome teachers, chefs here in the Valley, and we know that you will be blessed. But this is also just a teaser for the other upcoming summit that shall be coming up. You need to be a part. If you missed the first one and you caught these by our streaming, you need to be live for the next one, because it is blessing you. And we pray that you're receiving what is coming from God's house to your house. God bless you. See you at the next summit.